Hello, today I'm here to give you an overview of the Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin. I've just finished the last book that's been written. There will be more, I believe, but this is A Dance with Dragons #2, After the Feast. And I wanted to give an overview. Warning, there will be spoilers in here, because obviously I can't give an overview of the series as a whole without giving spoilers. Also, I felt like I couldn't discuss my issues with this book without giving spoilers. So there will be spoilers in here. If you haven't read them, or if you don't know anything, or don't want to know about deaths and things like that, then probably don't watch. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that A Song of Ice and Fire is not a series that I would normally go for. I've never read a high fantasy series. I've never even read a series. When I was reading this book, I realised I've never read, other than Harry Potter, and I don't think I've even read every single one of them. I think there's like 2 in the middle that I didn't read. So I've never read a 7-book series before, and there's reasons for this, and I think my opinion of these books is probably tarnished slightly because of that, because I just got to a point where I was bored, and I think that might be partly because I've never spent this many books in one world. Also, they're pretty hefty books. I mean, this is one of the thinner ones, so yeah, it's not like the quickest of reads. Basically though, I picked up Game of Thrones, the first book in the series, and I really loved it. It gave me a book hangover. I couldn't find anything else I enjoyed as much, and I was so excited. Like, I've just got to the point where I've had enough. I've just had enough. I'm going to discuss mainly my issues with this book, because this is the one I've just finished. Basically, this is set more in the free world. Daenerys actually rides off on her dragons and isn't around for the whole book. Basically, in the free world where all her people are. And I didn't like that, because I find all the characters around Daenerys have really similar names, like Rozak, Rozak, and just, they're all very, like, there's just a lot of names that are really similar, and so it's very hard for me. I haven't bothered all throughout because it hasn't seemed important, but in this book we actually spend more time with sort of the sideline characters that we haven't necessarily paid any attention to. There are a lot of characters in here, so you can only pay attention to so many, and I had sort of cast those off as irrelevant, and then they've got their own chapters in this section, and it bothered me because I didn't know who was who. Half this book I didn't even bother knowing what was going on, because it was characters I'm not interested in. I felt as though this might be just, again, me, because I'm not used to spending this long in a world, but I felt as though George R. R. Martin probably doesn't necessarily know where the series is going, and that's why it's taking him so long to write the books, and I hate that. I hate when a series starts without a clear ending, and I have been wondering with all the books how it's going to end, because it could just go on and on and on, you know. I don't see how there can be a conclusion necessarily. When you're on the 7th book and you're thinking, right, still nothing's really happening, it just gets too much, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I whizzed through this because I was bored and I wanted to get it done. And it's such a shame, because I really loved the first book. The others, though, I haven't loved half as much, and I would say for me, I think it's worth reading the first book just to get yourself that passion for the world and the enjoyment, and then just watch the TV series, because the books are just too much, too heavy, too wordy, too many characters that seem irrelevant and then suddenly pop up as main characters, and it's just bothering me. Also, big spoilers coming. I feel like he kills off all the characters that you enjoy, and it irritates me. Like, I can understand to a certain extent. Up until this book, I thought all the deaths were well done and enjoyable. However, you know, the Stark family we begin with were sort of my favourite family, and they were sort of, to me, in my head, the main family, who then get killed. And up to that point, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, that was shock factor, I get that. In this book, he kills Jon Snow, and it's just unnecessary. I'm all for killing the popular characters, whatever, if that's what you want to do. But make it necessary. The problem I had with Jon Snow's death was that we didn't spend hardly any time with him in this book. We spent about, I think, 3 chapters with him, which is probably equivalent of about 50 pages, and then he dies, and it's, it was so irritating. A lot of people I know, when they saw the series, were saying, oh, didn't see it coming. That's because I don't think George R. R. Martin did. Genuinely, I don't think it was fully planned. I just think it was chucked in there. I think ultimately it's going to be a mistake because there was a lot riding on Jon Snow, actually, and he was one of the popular characters from the first book. I know he was one that I really looked forward to his sections, and to kill him unnecessarily and seemingly unplanned really irritated me, and it was literally, it just read to me like a way to move the plot forward. So that was my main issue with this. Also, just as I say, the fact that it was a really meandering, slow book, and George R. R. Martin said in the acknowledgements that it was really hard to write, and it reads like it was really hard to write, and I just didn't like it. That said, as I say, it might completely be, I put my hands up, it might completely be that I am not used to spending this many books in one world. I don't think series are for me, even like trilogies. I like standalone books because they're done and they're complete and they're whole and neat. But I was kind of looking forward to getting my teeth into a series, and it's just bored me now, to be honest. I got bored with the last book and sort of still gave it 4 stars because I thought, well, it's still well written, and I won't lie, this book is still well written. After Jon Snow's death, I was totally thinking I was going to give it 2 stars. But then the last section with Daenerys, where we meet back up with Daenerys, was really strong and the writing was really good in it. So I thought, no, I'm going to give it 3 stars. But it was probably more like 2.5, because normally I give 3 stars to a book that I was indifferent about. I didn't love, I didn't hate, it was just fine. And this book did annoy me, so technically it is a 2-starer for me. But as I say, the writing and the last section with Daenerys kind of pulled it back. I don't know if I'll pick up the next book when it comes out. I think I will, just because I've dedicated so much time to this series already. Hopefully maybe when it comes out I'll have sort of cleansed myself and have forgotten my dislikes and sort of been ready for another version. I think as well, I don't read similar books in sort of close succession, and admittedly it's been about 3 months since I read the last one, but like between the first one and the second one I left it a year, because I like to completely forget about things before I come back to them, and because we've been watching the series and my boyfriend wants to continue with season 5, but I know that it gets a bit close to the bone with the books and the seasons up to a certain point. So I think there are some things from this book in season 5. I might be wrong, but I think in season 4 it was definitely getting close to what I was reading. I wanted to read that before I risked watching the rest of the series. So he wanted me to really get on, and I had book 6 and book 7 to go, and yeah, I've had to read them quite close together, but I don't think that's why. I genuinely think I've just had enough of the series. So yeah, share with me your thoughts down below. Is this just because I don't like series? Does everyone else love these books still? I don't know. Bye.